Oh, I didn't see it there. I was just writing about some things that happened after World War II. Basically, many countries in the Middle East began to embrace the idea of decolonization, just as the countries that rule them had done decades, even centuries before. And today, we'll go more in depth on what really happened. That was. Today, I wanted to take a closer look at Lebanon. After World War II, the tension and the relationship between the French and the Lebanese became shaky. The Lebanese, full of Arab nationalism, wanted to become free from the French. The French, of course, weren't behind this. Despite the French's efforts, the Lebanese began to enact a right to secure their independence. And the Americans and the British were behind this. And because of this, the French had no other choice but recognize Lebanon's sovereignty. What we saw here was one of the more peaceful ways decolonization happened in the Middle East. Now let's take a look at Egypt.
Hey, come with me. After World War II, the Egyptian politics were in complete disarray. However, in 1952, a wave of nationalism would change Egypt's destiny for the years to come. On January 26, 1952, anti-British protests broke out, proving pivotal to the Egyptian nationalist movement, leading to extensive damage to British symbols in Cairo, such as hotels, the travel agency, and airline offices. 17 Britons were also killed in what has been since named the Black Saturday riots. Okay, that's good.
The British Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, gave a speech in Africa talking about decolonization and nationalism arising in Africa at the time. This was after the Suez Crisis in Egypt, and now we will watch that speech.
Of course, you understand this better than anyone. You are sprung from Europe, the home of nationalism. And here, in Africa, you have yourselves created a new nation. Indeed, in the history of our times, yours will be recorded as the first of the African nationalisms. And this tide of national consciousness, which is now rising in Africa, is a fact for which you and we and the other nations of the Western world are ultimately responsible.
Sadly, as we saw with the riots in Egypt, 6 weeks after Macmillan's speech, a similar thing occurred: the Sharpeville massacres. This killed 69 innocent protesters in Africa.
Today we will be interviewing some witnesses from the Sharpeville riots. Sir.
Yes?
What are your personal takes on the Sharpeville riots that just recently happened?
Well, personally, I knew a couple colleagues that, in fact, were in the massacre, and some were killed. Some luckily made it out, only injured. But I think that it was an act of racial injustice, seeing as the white cops killed almost 70 of us. It's just not right. Sir, excuse me, sir. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions.
Of course.
About the Sharpeville massacres that happened the other day. Do you have any thoughts?
My condolences to all those who died, first of all. And I personally was not there, but I was acquainted with some people who were there, and I just know it was such a horrible thing, and there's no right for it to go on. We didn't.
In conclusion, the peoples and nations in the Middle East have all experienced decolonization in their own separate ways. However, all of this stems from
these strong feelings of nationalism that ultimately end up in the freedom and independence of many of these countries in the Middle East.